So it's been a really long time since the XR Elite has been around, and let me tell you, this headset is really interesting but quite odd. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like Willy Wonka's glasses, which really wants me to tell everybody that the ERP says hello. But this thing has surprised me in a lot of ways. Plus, I dismissed this headset for over a year. The big reason is I watched a lot of videos and read a lot of reviews when this thing came out, and the general consensus, it's not good. The diopter lenses and the comfort options, which I'll get to later, was one of the biggest red flags for me since I wore glasses myself when I first looked at it. However, despite this, I decided to give in and pick one up during a summer sale, which also came with the newly released deluxe pack at the time. I'll be going over everything that this headset has to offer, and I'll be including the deluxe pack since they include it with every new purchase, so I guess consider this an updated review or something. Now, this thing is seriously small and compact, and considering this is an XR headset, it's impressive looking at it first glance. Now, for those of you who don't know, XR, or extended reality, means that a headset under this term can handle virtual reality, mixed reality, and augmented reality, which can increase engagement with the physical and digital world. This kind of technology is mainly for enterprises, but considering we can pick one up on Vive's website, it's amazing yet incredible for the price of... well, at least it's the cheapest option for an XR headset. Going over the unboxing really quick, it comes with the headset in a nice little pouch, 2 controllers which are the same as the Focus series, a battery cradle which has a battery life of 2 hours, 1 USB to USB-C cable and 2 USB-A to USB-C cables, a cleaning cloth, an optional top strap, and guidebooks with warranty information. In the deluxe pack, you get the face gasket 2.0 with an additional face pad for narrow faces, a deluxe strap, an MR gasket, and finally 2 temple clips. For specs, features, and quirks, it has a 1920 by 1920 pixel per eye dual LCD display with pancake diopter lenses. It has 4 cameras for inside-out tracking and 1 camera in the center for full color pass-through, along with a depth sensor on top of it. Under the magnetic face gasket, you will find a hidden USB-C port for accessories. Under the hood, it has what Vive calls an optimized Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 chip with an internal battery for hot swapping the battery cradle or a power bank, 12 gigabytes of memory, and 128 gigabytes of internal storage. After hearing all that, it is really impressive for this amount of tech inside this tiny little headset. The internal battery in the headset is there to keep the headset active, and once you unplug the power source, it will turn off, but you do have a little bit of time to hot swap, and as soon as you plug in another battery cradle or a power bank, it will resume where you left off, which is very nice. What's crazy is the headset requires 30 watts of power to function properly. I'm not entirely sure why, but you can use any power bank as you wish below the power wattage requirement, although it will turn the brightness down by a lot. Moving on to comfort, you can use the XR Elite in the glasses form factor or attach the battery cradle and wear it like a normal VR headset. Now, this is a subjective topic, but trying out the headset in the glasses form, the headset's arms feel really uncomfortable as it puts a lot of pressure and squeezes my head to get a tight grasp of my head. The headset in this form factor does tend to make the front a bit heavy. Using the battery cradle is a lot better as it distributes the weight very nicely, although the lack of a top strap can be very concerning. You can't adjust the head strap like you can in other headsets, so you have to tilt the whole headset to get the ideal fit. The optional top strap is recommended as it makes the balance of the headset much better. The face gasket that comes with the headset feels okay, and I have no problems with how it feels on my face, but personally for extended periods of time, I can feel mild discomfort due to the material rubbing on my face even if I'm slightly moving my eyebrows. If you want to, you can change this, but if you want something different, you have to purchase a similar face gasket but with the same leather material around the face area that's identical to the Focus series face gasket. I've heard from others that not only can this be uncomfortable, it can have some light leakage from the sides of the face gasket, but personally I never had this issue. Since it now comes with a deluxe pack free of charge, the deluxe strap is a must-use accessory over the optional top strap as it evenly distributes the weight of the headset. The 2.0 face gasket is good, but the face pads they include are these foam-like cushions, but when I use this face gasket, it tends to decrease my field of view, giving me a binocular field of view, which I personally don't like. The MR gasket is good too, which uses a soft leather material pad and uses your forehead to distribute the front of the weight. Plus, with this gasket, you can use your glasses in the headset similar to how the Quest Pro is. And finally, the temple clips. These are mainly there to support the weight of the battery cradle. I used all these accessories in this pack, including the optional top strap, and I found the deluxe strap and the MR gasket to be the perfect use case for this headset for me. Although I am guilty of constantly having to switch stuff around because I can never decide which is more comfortable or convenient for me at that current moment. And now for the visual experience, which is cool for glasses wearers, but it has its downsides and it gets a bit complicated. And let me tell you, it's mainly due to my eyes not being the best eyes, but I digress. First off, this has pancake lenses, which are clear and have a huge sweet spot, so you don't have to adjust the headset much to have everything look great, but these do suffer from some glare and contrasting scenes. They also have slight distortion around the edges of the lenses, but it's not distracting by any means unless you're really looking for it. When it comes to the IPD, it supports a range of 54 to 73 millimeters according to their website, with a field of view of 110 degrees. Like I said in the beginning, these have diopter adjustment dials. They go from 0 to 6, which adjusts the clarity of the lenses, and this basically replicates what opticians use when you get your eyes tested for a prescription. They will ask you questions like, okay, do you like it on 2 or 3, or do you like it on 3 or 4? Which means they're asking which lenses are clear for you to see through. My eyes aren't the best eyes, but luckily for me, I can see through them just fine, adjusting the lenses to make them look good for me. Even though these diopters aren't a problem for me, your results will vary depending if you're short or farsighted. If you get this headset, I would urge you to be very careful when using lenses like these, because if you accidentally turn them out of place, it can cause some eye strain, which happened to me a couple of times in the beginning. If you're someone who has a super strong prescription or has some sort of astigmatism, I would not recommend this headset to you, as you may also suffer from eye strain and have an extremely uncomfortable experience. Okay, don't get me wrong, the diopter lenses are a great idea on paper, but in execution, it comes with a lot of compromises for a lot of people. Now for the audio. The built-in speakers in the headset's arms do a good job, and the sound quality is great for what it is. Unfortunately, there's no headphone jack, and if you want to use Bluetooth headphones, you may deal with a bit of audio latency. When it comes to microphone, well, ta-da! You're listening to how it sounds right now. This will depend on you if this is serviceable to you, but for me, it does a really good job in that area. This headset is fully capable of full color pass-through, and it looks pretty good as it's sharp and there's no latency when using it. It's the first thing you see when you power the headset on, and one of my favorite features is you can toggle pass-through by double pressing the Vive button on the right controller, which is convenient when doing anything in the headset, although it's not depth correct and everything is in 2D. Looking at the controllers, they're similar to the Quest controllers and they're exactly the same as the Focus series controllers. The differences between these and the Quest controllers is that they have rechargeable batteries that last up to 15 hours, they have longer grips, and the grip and trigger buttons click when you fully press them down. Clicking these buttons acts as another button input for PCVR, similar to the index triggers, but when it comes to me, I get nothing out of this, but I can see where this can become useful. Personally, these controllers feel a bit cheap, and I definitely would not feel confident in these controllers to take a beating like accidentally punching a wall, but I do like how good they feel in my hands because of the longer grips, and they work really well. Now time for the bread and butter of this video. How is the standalone experience in the headset? The setup process is super simple using the Vive Manager app, or you can do it inside the headset. When booting up the headset for the first time, it gives you a quick tutorial of how to use the headset, and it shows you how to use the diopter adjustments, which is really needed when you get a headset with diopters on it. Afterwards, you are then put into the home environment. While there isn't much to look at, it's not really a big deal as you're going to be playing games and applications most of the time. Everything is captured directly in the headset and doesn't hinder or compromise performance at all. Testing out the performance and tracking capabilities, it handled everything like a champ, and I never had tracking issues. The only time I noticed tracking loss like other standalone headsets is when the controllers or the tracking LEDs are outside of the camera's field of view. There is something interesting about these controllers that I don't see anyone talk about, but here we go. If you cover or block the tracking rings, it will lose tracking and you can only do gyroscope movements. Interesting. When bringing the controllers back into the camera's view, it takes a split second for them to be reintroduced, like a sudden pop-in. Playing some standalone games feels great, but the thing I couldn't help but notice is the internal fan speeds up and becomes a bit loud when playing anything that requires a lot of processing, there's a lot happening on the screen, or if you turn on pass-through. A great example of this is Hubris. Playing this game would feel really slow and my hand movements would feel delayed, but this is probably due to the fact that this game isn't optimized for the chipset, but it could be anyone's guess. Like I said earlier, you can do mixed reality, although I don't really have much to show here other than I can draw this. Brilliant. Hand tracking is also supported, although the results aren't the greatest and it has a long way to go. You can play games with hand tracking, although like I said before, I don't have much to show for it. For those of you out there, you can play VR chat standalone on this headset, but there are times when it works, and there are times when it doesn't work. This happens when I'm loading into the instance if a world has big download sizes or has a lot of people in the instance, but when it works, so the only thing you'll have to do is cross your fingers hoping it doesn't crash. Alright, so that's the standalone side of things. How is the PCVR experience? First things first, you're going to need the Vive Hub, which you can download from their website and includes species specification requirements in order for you to use the Vive Hub and the headset properly. Once connected, your SteamVR library will be displayed in your PC library tab here, which is really neat and very cool actually. In the Vive Hub, you can change many different settings such as graphics and performance, but in this tab, there's very little in this section. There's input settings to enable hand tracking and enable compatibility mode, although from the time that I tried using hand tracking, it doesn't really work very well. Not sure why. What's really cool too is that you can download your saved screenshots and recordings from the headset to your PC. There are two ways you can connect the XR Elite to your PC using a link cable or do it wirelessly using a fast home network. For my testing, I used the MetaQuest link cable, which worked flawlessly when tethered in the battery cradle. When using a link cable, the battery will drain over time, and I found that the battery will last around 2 to 3 hours for my testing. You can use the headset in glasses mode tethered to the PC, but just like how it works standalone, it requires 30 watts of power, and I don't think most PCs can provide that extra power. One thing I want to note is that the cable tends to pull the battery cradle down a tad, which lifts the headset up, so I would have to readjust it from time to time in some cases. Although playing my games in this headset was an absolute breeze, and I never had any issues playing games. Depending on the settings you choose, you can get a really smooth and great experience, and I never had any screen artifacts or latency issues. Again, my eyes aren't really the best eyes, so I noticed that playing games normally is fine, but trying to read text can be a bit difficult sometimes. I have my settings set to quality with the sharpening just a little bit, but things can look a little bit blurry to me still. There's one thing I do like about the performance, and that's the 90Hz refresh rate. It feels amazing, and when playing something like Beat Saber, it's buttery smooth. One thing about the Vive Hub is that it sometimes disconnects me from time to time, but it doesn't happen very often from my experience, and it puts me right back into whatever I'm doing if it happens again. When doing fast-paced movements to see how the tracking holds up, it held up very nicely, and I never had signs of drifting or tracking loss. Like I said, the only time I notice tracking loss is when I'm covering the tracking rings or it just gets outside of the camera's field of view. What's really neat is that when you close Vive streaming in the headset to reconnect with SteamVR, the game remains open and basically puts it in an AFK state, so when you go back into the game, you pick up where you left off. Another cool thing is that you can turn on pass-through while in SteamVR, and once you turn it on and turn it off, it puts you back into the game with no problems whatsoever. At least for me. This is really useful if I want to quickly look at my phone or my monitor without taking the headset off. Now for VR chat, it is a much better experience, not only since you're playing on PC, but the frame rate and the overall gameplay is really good, especially in a full lobby. You still get the standard VR chat experience like sudden frame drops here and there, but I can get through my sessions just fine. This is a very strange and quirky headset, which is why I became optimistic when the summer sale happened, and trying it out for myself to see how it works, it became quite the adventure. Vive did something new and different with the XR Elite, and it works in a lot of areas, but fails in others. Oh boy. And now for the main question. Do I recommend this headset? This will be a decision for yourself if the XR Elite offers anything that will benefit you. For example, if the headset is super lightweight is what you're looking for. This headset is not for everyone, there's no getting around that, but even though I thought from the beginning that the diopter lenses would not give me a good visual experience, but since I've used it a lot over the course of 5 months since the making of this video, it wasn't really as bad as I thought it was. In the end though, this is all my opinions and personal experiences with the XR Elite, and your usage will vary. If you have any questions or comments about the XR Elite, go ahead and leave them down in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. And I guess this is all I have to say right now. Thank you all for watching. Bye!